Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. This is Coach Rose AJ, Carnivore Girl for Life, coming to holla at y'all today. Today we have Miss Cristie with Meeting Wellness. She is going to share about her life, her journey, maybe about some tips and tricks, anything pertaining to what she wants to share about her health and wellness journey, and maybe even a little bit, Cristie, I forgot to ask you if before you ventured into the carnivore way of life, if you could talk a little bit about that, if you've tried some other dietary protocols and what eventually led you to try carnivore. All right, girlfriend, this is all for you, boo thing. I'm going to mute myself and we going to roll.
That sounds amazing. I mean, you give a teacher a stage and I don't know what you expect is going to happen, but I'm going to talk now. That's what I do for a living. So there you go. And here comes my cat. This is Pixel, everybody. She thinks she's part of this channel. So there she is. Okay, so like Rose said, my name is Cristie. My channel is Meeting Wellness. And I'm a teacher in Southern California. I teach fifth grade, and I've been doing that for 24 years. I know I don't look it. No, I'm just kidding. 24 years, it probably every day probably shows because it's it's a challenge, but you know, I love it. As far as my health and wellness journey, I grew up in a great family. My dad was a pastor. My mom was a teacher. So I guess, as they say, the apple doesn't fall too far from that tree. But they were very just kind of standard American diet people. But believe it or not, my mom has a degree in home economics, like when that was a thing, right? And so you have to take like nutrition classes and stuff like that. But like, what are they going to teach you in there? So she would feed us, you know, like we'd have a protein, we'd have a vegetable, and we'd have a starch, and then we'd have a glass of milk. Okay. So that was like the typical, you know, dinner. Breakfast was definitely, you know, cereal with milk. And then lunches, being a pastor's kid and a teacher's kid, we didn't have very much money. So I qualified for reduced lunch at school. And we all know how wonderful, that's sarcasm, the school lunches are, right? So, I mean, I remember being excited going from elementary to middle school, because in middle school, you got milkshakes at lunch. Yeah. I think 3 days a week, and you could choose chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, or Neapolitan. And it was like legit milkshakes. And that was what all the kids were excited about. Nobody told us back then about how horrible sugar is for you. I don't think I knew what a carbohydrate was. It was just, if you eat too much sugar, make sure you brush your teeth so you don't get a cavity. Like that was it. And I, you know, I was active. So I'm Gen X. And our thing was you play outside till the street lights go off. So school would be over, you go outside, you ride your bike, you do your roller skates or whatever, run around. I would, you know, do gymnastics in the grass. Like, you know, we weren't like in a bubble. We were active kids running around. And so never thought much about diet at all, until high school. So in high school, when you know, puberty hit and the weight started going on in the places where it goes on for us women, and for me specifically, I'm a pear shape. So all my pear shaped ladies out there, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, it goes right to the hips and the booty every time. And so when that started, I got, you know, self-conscious about that. There were still a lot of girls that didn't have much in the area of hips. And at that time, big booties were not the thing. Not. It was, you know, just skinny all over. And so I didn't like that very much, even though you know, I wasn't big, but I saw myself that way. And so what did I learn? I learned counting calories and eat less and move more. And I can remember my dad saying that because during this time, my dad was like, you know, putting on that weight too. He used to be kind of active. He didn't do that so much anymore. He started putting on weight. He ended up, you know, a type 2 diabetic, by the end of it. And, but I remember him saying that I just got to eat less, move more. Like he wasn't telling me to do that, but he was talking about himself. And so that, you know, got in my head. And so, you know, I started counting calories. And then I got very like obsessed with it. So we're talking, I would add up all my calories for the day And I would choose things like, even like between, let's say, fruit, right? I would eat like strawberries over bananas because they're less calories, like, like that. And then if my calories were 1,500 one day, well, then what can I take out? I can take out half of this, and now I'm going to cut those calories by X. And then I would count them and recount them and recount them. And each time I would eat, I would add them up. And I would never eat big meals. It was like I would just eat enough to where I wasn't gonna like pass out from hunger, and then try to make it as long as I could till I had to eat again. And so yeah, yes, Miss Rose.
So let me interject in here. So
Please.
I forgot to ask you, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm 48.
Okay, 48. So I'm 56. So I'm almost 10 years older than you.
Yes.
But when you're talking about writing it down, adding it up, writing it down, adding it up, I did that a lot. My dieting career started when I was 12 with Dextrim, Tab, and
my mom took
XX.
those.
Yeah.
My mom took Dextrim. I remember her taking them, and I was like, oh, she's going to get skinny, like in my head.
And all those things. Did you have any specific like Slim Fast or anything that you tried and in your earlier years in the beginning, or was it strictly calorie counting and trying to move numbers around and not get hungry?
So in the beginning, it was calorie counting because I didn't have any money, so I couldn't go buy Slim Fast, and my mom sure wasn't buying me Slim Fast. And also, there was no way I was telling my mom, like, I feel fat, I want to go on a diet. Like, I just did all this stuff without her knowing that I was doing any of it. You know what I'm saying? So at first, that's what I could control. I didn't have money, to control anything else other than that. So that's what I would do. When I got a little older, when I went away to college, which I was only 17 when I went away to college, because I graduated high school at 17. Then at first it was, oh yeah, for sure. I put on at least, I think then they called it the freshman 15. I think they call it more than that now. I for sure put on at least the freshman 20. And because, mom's not there, and now she would buy me cereal, like I said, but if I asked for, it was for sure not the sugary kind. Like it was Cheerios, not Honey Nut Cheerios, right? It was Corn Flakes, not Frosted Flakes, And so I asked all the time, I want Lucky Charms. No, that's bad for you, but here's your Corn Flakes or whatever, because she didn't know either. But so when you go to college and you have a meal plan, there's all that stuff, and frozen yogurt is just, there's the machine, you could just get as much as you want. So I definitely did that. But my weight never got super out of control, because as soon as, I would then go back into the restricting. So as soon as I would kind of binge my way up by about 20 pounds, I would restrict my way back down. So when I was in college, I did have jobs, as I was going to college. And yes, I for sure remember buying the Slim Fast, the powder in the cans, and mixing that up with non-fat milk. Oh yeah, I for sure did that. That was probably, until I heard about Atkins a little bit later, that was probably the only one. Like, I never did like Nutrisystem or Weight Watchers. I heard about all that stuff, but it was mostly just extreme calorie counting and, sometimes exercising, not a lot, but sometimes. So yeah, I did that and kind of just bounced up and down. And then kind of unbeknownst to me, my mental health and my energy like started declining, but I didn't know it. So like, I only learned this later, because when it happens like at a slow, I don't know, slowly, you just don't notice, that stuff is kind of declining. So then, fast forward a little bit, end of college, I'd sort of heard about Atkins, but I didn't research it. Okay. It was just like, and I'm not the internet generation, right? And so it wasn't like, let's go look this stuff up. So I heard about net carbs, and carbs are bad, like eat some bacon. And I for sure bought some Atkins shakes, things like that. And then just try to keep the carbs low, but like, I didn't have a number, right? There wasn't a number. It was just watch the carbs, count the carbs. Like, it never occurred to me, why are you counting carbs? Like, to what number, but it was just count them and then keep them low and then net carbs. So I did that. And I did that for a long time, kind of off and on. And always basically maintaining my general weight, but never being satisfied, always feeling fat, right? Always feeling hungry. because I was always limiting my calories so strictly. So feeling super low energy, and that kind of thing. Yes, ma'am.
So feeling super low energy and counting
Yes.
your net carbs, your carbs, what have you, were you eating a little bit more than you were in high school when you initially started doing any kind of restriction, or do you know?
No, it always got less and less and less. So by the end of like restricting period, I would be down to eating 500 to 800 calories a day, maybe.
How were you surviving? Were you on the verge of like passing out, or
Yes.
did you
So
just
I'd
get so
stand
used
up
to
and
being?
get dizzy. Oh, I got used to being that way, but like just got used to it. So yes, I'd stand up and get dizzy. I would feel like just very low energy. I took a lot of naps. That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. And then but I would never get to the point of being like to where my BMI would consider, what anorexic BMI, because you can only do that so long. And then, I mean, some people go all the way there. I don't know if I ever did. It was definitely very disordered, but I would get to a point and then I'd be like, I need all the Oreos. And so I would eat all the Oreos and Doritos and whatever, donuts and ice cream, until I'd put the 20 pounds back on, and then I just do it again. Right. It was
So am I
horrible.
hearing you correctly that you were a restrictor and a binger?
Yeah. In cycles.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Continue on, girlfriend.
Yes, absolutely. So I kind of just, I did that, the low carb ish thing, but not really knowing, like I thought I knew what I was doing, but actually not really knowing what I was doing. Until, age 47. So last year, in February, the 20 pound, that pesky 20 pounds, right, that I've wrestled with my whole life, came back on, and I was just like, all right, what can I do that I haven't tried? And it was like keto. Keto is a thing I've heard about. I didn't know what it was. I hadn't researched it, but I knew I hadn't tried it, right? And so I started looking, just kind of looking at it online and things like that. And okay, I started keto. And then within just a couple of days, I joined a couple of Facebook groups, which I had never done before. And the reason for that is in 2020, when they sent all of us teachers home to teach online, and they just said, figure it out. Like, we give you nothing, but figure it out and be responsible to teach these kids online. And so teachers were like creating Facebook groups and joining groups like that because we were creating materials and then just sharing them for free on the internet with each other. And that's kind of how I got, because like I said, I'm not the internet generation, and I never had a big social media. Like, I didn't care. Like, I just wasn't on it, but I got plugged into it because of that. And so then I was like, I wonder if there's like keto groups, like there were, teacher groups. Oh yeah, look, there's a bunch of them. And so I joined like a couple, right? And then I was just one day, very quick, like maybe a week and a half, deciding to go keto. Somebody said the magic words, Dr. Barry, like in the comments, not directed to me, just, directed to whatever comment thing they were answering. And I was like, I wonder what that is, So I went and checked it out, which then led me to, the proper human diet, the way to do keto correctly.
So what I'm understanding is like after college or during your college years, all the way up to 47, it was 20 pounds that was driving you to the brink. Did you ever have more weight than 20 pounds to lose, or was it always in that
No,
range?
it was always in that range. And even with that 20 pounds on, like, I think my BMI is still around 23 ish. And I know BMI is not like the best measure, but just so people know, because you can only see me from here up right now. And I think 25 or more is considered overweight or ish. I don't know. I don't have it memorized. So even with that, I mean, it was just what I would feel comfortable at. So I'm about 5'6", 5'5" and a 3/4 or whatever, and I'm kind of small bone. Like, if you look at my wrists, they're like tiny and stuff. And so, I prefer to be around 120. So the 20 pounds I'm talking about is if I would get up to 140, that would just send me like right over the edge and like, don't want to do it. And if I see 140, like, that's it. So I would just not want to see that number. So when I get up to the high 130s, then that would start the restricting. Does that give you a little more
Yeah. So
idea?
it was
Yeah.
20 pounds that you wrestled with
Yes. Oh,
continually.
continually
Okay.
trying to be as,
Okay.
120. And at one point I was down below that, like maybe 115. That's too thin. That was too thin for me. But and
So,
even at that weight, I felt fat. Like I felt like I
right.
still had weight to lose. Yeah. I never felt happy.
So the reason I wanted to hone in on that is because I've been 110 pounds more than what I am now, right?
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a vicious cycle, and I understand what it's like to be large and in charge, and all this good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wanted to hone in on is, although you wrestled with 20 pounds, I think
Mm-hmm.
we probably both had a lot of the same issues and agony
Mm-hmm.
surrounding us, that continual thought process. Like, why can't I just lose this 20 pounds or this 100 pounds? Or I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing so good for 6 months, and then all of a sudden we revert back to our old behaviors. So when
Yes.
people say that they are wrestling with 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 30 pounds, I think a lot of the mental drain and turmoil is the same
Yes.
as
100%.
someone who is 100 or 150,
Yes.
right?
And I never had that perspective until maybe more now getting in this community where it's like where you are now is somebody else's goal. That's absolutely true. Like there would be people that would be like, where you are now, like there's people like what you're saying, like people that might need to lose 110 pounds, like where I am now, that's their goal. I never had that perspective and I'd never thought about it globally. I just looked at myself and thought, girl, your thighs need work. That's all I ever thought. It's fat. You see that cellulite, that's gross. Get rid of it. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it really doesn't matter the amount of pounds,
Right.
the amount of pounds, it still
Yes.
shows up in our thought processes, our obsessions, our mental
Mm-hmm.
health, and how we view life, right? So
Yeah.
one may weigh considerably more and have
Yes.
that take up a lot more of their brain space, but it doesn't mean that somebody that has 15 or 20 pounds, it doesn't take up their brain space as well.
People would look at me from the outside and think probably I had it all together. I was healthy. I was skinny. Like people would look at me probably and think I was skinny because I was maybe a size 8. I never wanted to get above single digits. I myself did not think that about me, So yes, absolutely. It was an obsession. No matter what I was doing, part of my brain was probably counting calories or thinking about, what I'm going to eat next or not eat next at all times. So even if you look at somebody from the outside and they look, like I said, like a size 8, it does not mean that they're in a good place mentally because I wasn't. And at the time, I thought I'm just on top of this, right? I'm just taking care of myself. I'm just, I didn't think it was like mentally sick, which it absolutely was.
All right,
So,
girl, go ahead and
yeah.
drop into Dr. Barry's
Yes, Dr.
videos and
Barry,
all that
Dr.
good
Barry.
stuff.
So,
Bring
so
us
I
up to
went to,
date.
yeah. And I think by then he was carnivore, but like, honestly, I was not looking at that stuff because I didn't know carnivore was a thing. I knew keto was a thing and that's what I was going to do. And he has a keto playlist. And so when I went on his, how his channel just has, thousands of videos, right? So I just searched keto playlist. And so that's what I just had that open on my computer. So I never saw carnivore, never saw it. I just keto, like all the way down, I think for 2 or 3 months straight till my husband was like, if I have to hear that Tennessee, whatever twang one more time, like stop it. So I just put in my earbuds right here and just kept right on, and I just learned all the things. So I learned, not to buy the products, which, I didn't start in doing that. But like I had said in the past, I had purchased things like Slim Fast or the shakes or what have you. So I didn't do any of that. I made it meat heavy keto, with some veg, and everything was like, the whole foods. Although I did do the fat bombs with like the cream cheese and some things like that at the beginning. But I knew about, counting total carbs, and I did track because I didn't know what 20 carbs looked like. Even though I had done low carb, it wasn't really right. So this was the first time that I, even knew what 20 carbs looked like. And so as I was doing all of that, my carb count just kind of went lower and lower. I think at one point I heard him talking about, or Nisha or somebody talking about ketovore. And then I like looked back and I was like, oh yeah, my carbs are like less than 10. I think I'm that. And then by June of 2023, and I know this because that was my 25th wedding anniversary. was in June of 2023. So we're coming up on 26 here in another couple months. But we went on a trip to Las Vegas. And I know for sure on that trip, which was the end of June, I was eating like ribeyes and chicken wings. So for sure by the end of June, I was carnivore, but it was never like, I think I'm going to do carnivore. Like I didn't know that carnivore was a thing that people did. I just got lazy and didn't feel like cooking asparagus. I was like, I think I'll just make ribeye and then I'm done cooking. And so then because I was doing it, I started looking into it and I was like, oh, this kind of like is a thing. And I guess that's what I'm doing. But this is the really cool part of my story. And I know I've been gabbing on for a while, but this is what I really want people to pay attention to, because this is the reason I started my channel. No one's going to look at a before and after picture of me and go, oh my gosh, like she lost 100 pounds. Like it's clear as night and day. The difference in this person, you're not going to see it by looking at me from the outside, because it's not that big of a difference. I guess I forgot to say when I went keto, I did lose the 20 pounds. So I did do that, but that was it, right? The weight loss, which is, hey, I came for the weight loss. I got the weight loss, right? But it was when I went carnivore that all of a sudden I was like, all of these mental health things just completely changed for me. And then I started realizing like I was not mentally healthy, because I didn't realize that I was not mentally healthy until I was becoming mentally healthy and then looking back and remembering how it was. So when I went carnivore, I stopped counting stuff. And then I realized, like, I realized I did a video about it. Like I had this continuous calorie counter in my head that's just like gone. So it's like I went from like dial up to like fiber optic internet, because my brain bandwidth, oh, I have my brain back, like it's not hijacked with these crazy thoughts. And I wasn't worried if I eat this ribeye or that picanha or bacon that I'm going to gain weight. Like I'm not worried about that. I'm not like, oh, if I eat this, I'm going to have to pay for it on the scale later. So all of that just kind of went away. And then I realized that I had a very, very severe case of, I'm going to call social anxiety. And I just thought I'm an introvert.
How can you have social anxiety and you're in a public space as far as being a teacher and having
Yeah,
colleagues? Can you explain that to us?
absolutely. So by the time I was 47, I had gotten to a place where I could go to work. And remember, I've been doing this for 24 years. So, I'm good at it. I have a lot of experience. I can make it easier. I can work a little harder at it. You get out what you put in, but like I could go in and put in, not a lot of effort and still be able to pull it off, just because I've done it for so long. So I would go in, put in my dues, but then I was done. That was it. And I have a family. So I would go to work. I would be exhausted. I would come home, sit on the couch and be like, I'm closed. Nobody talk to me. Like I'm done. That's it. Also, I did not want to go outside. I did not want to go to the store. I did not want to get gas in my car. Anything where anyone could see me. I would not go for a walk, because someone might see me and talk to me, or someone might see me and think I look weird. Maybe she's walking weird. Maybe her hair isn't right. Maybe she's ugly. Maybe she has a zit on her face. Maybe she should be wearing makeup. Maybe all the things. I thought that everyone, strangers, right? That like as if anyone cares that much about a lady going for a walk. But in my head, all that was blown up. So I never, and then if I got invited places socially, I would either straight up turn it down or I would accept. But then when the day would come, I would think of a reason to get out of it. Like, how am I going to get out of it? If I could possibly get out of it, I would do it. If I thought that I could do it, get away with it, right? Like, and not give some excuse that they're not going to believe. And so I didn't do anything other than go to work and come home. That was it. And I would even have anxiety over going to like family gatherings, because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go be around people and have to put on my like be with people face, and it was fake. It was like a fake face that I would have to put on, and it was a lot of work to do it, to be around people, to like function.
Would you say that maybe you had some depression sprinkled in there, or was it purely anxiety?
I don't No, I don't know. I think it was more anxiety because when I'm home, when I was home and, by myself, I didn't feel depressed about it. I felt happy to be there. You know what I mean? I wasn't there going, "Oh, I'm, feeling bad about myself." I was only feeling bad when I was like amongst it was too people-y out there. I just didn't want to be amongst and the people because it was too much effort to behave in a way that wouldn't bring attention to myself. I always thought that I was going to get negative reviews from others.
So, okay, do you think food played a part in that if you were eating processed food, or does anxiety run in your family?
Both.
Were you seeing a therapist or anything, a counselor to help you with this?
So no, I was not seeing a therapist or counselor. Yes, it runs in my family, but I think with mostly my dad who's passed on. But he went on a statin early. And guess what? He got type 2 diabetes and Alzheimer's, which are the two things that statin is probably gonna. And the saddest part about it is about 2 months after I went keto, my mom went keto. And I taught her the proper way to do it. And she's still keto. She's okay with me being carnivore, but she's like meat-based keto. She's 71 years old. Her arthritis symptoms are gone. She just got back from a trip to Italy. And a few months before that, she was in Greece. So here she is, 71, living her best life. And so I'm very, very happy about that. I think now I'm going to have my mom around for a long time. But if I would have done this 5 years ago, she would have gotten my dad because she got herself and she fed him, right? So I know that's the part that makes me sad because I feel like with my dad and kind of that side of the family, there's a lot of like mental health things that went on. But clearly it was the food too, because as soon as I went carnivore, this is the first time I noticed it. So my son, who's 15 now, he was 14 at the time, got invited to go to a local amusement park by a girl. But a girl I didn't know, Rose, a girl I didn't know. I didn't know her and I didn't know her family. And her family was taking her and said she could invite one person, and she chose my son. And that's fine, but like I didn't want to send him 2 hours that way when I don't know these people. So the old me would have said something like, "No, no, son, no, you can't do that." All of a sudden, just he asked me, and I was like, "Okay, here's what has to happen. I need that mom's phone number so I can just talk to her, and then I need to go too. I won't bother anybody. I'll pay for my own ticket, but like I need to be in the vicinity because these are strangers and you're 14, And like, who even am I right now? Like, I'm going to go hang out with strangers that I don't even know all day long at an amusement park where there are thousands of people. I'm going to have to park in a new place. I'm going to have to figure all the logistics out. But I was fine with it. Like I wasn't nervous about it. We had a fun day, by the way. And both of the girls' parents came and we talked all day long. The kids did their thing and we kind of trailed behind. And I just had a conversation with two basically very nice, but strangers, for hours and hours. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't trying to get out of there. And then that's what started me thinking like this carnivore thing, I think is like healing my brain in some kind of way. I didn't even know it was broken, And so that was the anxiety, the social anxiety was, yeah, it's just gone.
I'm so happy that you were able to connect the dots so quickly and you have a vivid experience to
Mm-hmm.
draw upon because, I think sometimes when changes happen, they're really small and incremental, and we really
Mm-hmm.
forget what it was like prior
Yeah.
to a lifestyle change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a huge, if I would say, non-scale victory. I mean, totally huge. Do you have more that you can share with us that are not scale related that you've
Sure.
noticed in the last year or so?
Yeah, around October, I decided that I had way too much energy, like more energy than I knew what to do with. Where remember before I told you I used to take a lot of naps, and I'm not going to say that I don't take naps, Rose. I love naps. On the weekend, I am known to go and take a nap because I enjoy it and it's cozy and my kids are older and I can do it. But it's not because I'm so exhausted that I literally can't stand up anymore. It's just I'm going to go take a nap and then I'm going to get up and go do something else. But I do enjoy naps, but I don't feel like I have to, or if I can't, it's not the end of the world. Like if I'm busy all day, it's fine. And when I'm working all day, it's like, I'm not going to take a nap today. I'm just going to do my thing. As you can tell, I have plenty of energy. I taught all day and, I'm wide awake and happy to be here. But yeah, I had all this energy and I started watching, because, I'm still watching content, right? Just more carnivore content now. And so Dr. Sean O'Mara came through my feed with the sprinting and the visceral fat and sprinting and the connection there. And so in October, I took on a sprint challenge and, I sprinted every single day for the month of October. So like every morning I got out there and did my sprints, and I will say it is now April, and I'm still sprinting, not every day. I started incorporating other things, but I probably sprint, three days a week or so. I still do sprints. But that sprinting challenge led me to do other challenges. I did a plank challenge, a hula hoop challenge, and so, yeah, I've incorporated exercise and I don't hate it. Like I've exercised before, but it was, I got to go this many miles because I'm going to burn this many calories. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, I'm going to go for a walk after this because it's a healthy thing to do. And at sunset, I'm going to walk and I'm going to watch the natural sunlight go away. And it's going to feel good to do that. Not because I'm going to go this many miles to burn that many calories and put it into my little equation.
And
So
that calorie adding never did work anyway, to be quite honest, right? You
no,
can't
absolutely.
outrun a bad diet, so to
Nope.
speak,
Nope.
But how many years did it take for me to learn that, right? Probably most of my life.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
figured it out considerably earlier. So do you have any other non-scale victories? I mean, liking exercise is like uber important just for the
Mm-hmm.
movement of your body. It's good for your emotional and mental state, but
Yep.
you either use it or lose it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm.
So just besides besides like the mental health stuff that I already touched on, the inflammation that I had or the physical symptoms, there were a few little things, nothing major. Like I'm not autoimmune. I'm not, I wasn't like, because I wasn't like type 2 diabetic or getting close to it or anything like that. But I just had a few little symptoms here and there. So one thing was being a teacher, my right hand, it felt like the beginnings of arthritis, like the joints would kind of ache. Especially if I had to write a lot, which, we used to before computers. We wrote I remember writing report cards by hand, you guys, in quadruplicate. So you had to push hard. Anyways, now, on the whiteboard and all that, we write. So it was more my right hand than my left. All the joints would sort of ache, and they don't do that anymore. My right knee would sort of ache and swell up. And it doesn't do that anymore. And like I said, I can sprint, I can walk, I do some weights from time to time. I used to, at one point I did a fair bit of exercising before all of this again to burn calories. And I had gotten into like doing squats and stuff. And the reason I stopped after doing that consistently for several months is my right knee was just like done. Like it hurt too bad to do squats, but now I can do squats, like weighted squats, and my knee's good to go. I had a cystic acne that would be like, I still get a little breakout from time to time. I'm not going to say my skin is perfectly clear, but I would have cystic acne pretty on a regular basis, and it's greatly improved. I would say my skin is kind of a little bit more, just has a little bit more of a glow to it than it did before. So the Carnivore Glow. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Just basic aches and pains in the morning, like ankles cracking and popping when I get out of bed and go down the hallway. They don't do that anymore.
Hey.
So just some, some inflammation. And it was things that I was like, well, I'm in my 40s. This is what happens when you're in your 40s, and lo and behold, going carnivore. And I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like instead of being like on the decline, like I still feel like I'm going that way. So
Rock on,
health is
sister.
getting better, I'm not declining, until the grave. So
Right on.
yeah.
So let me ask you, do you have a lot of family support around this protocol? And if yes, are your family members carnivore or ketovore? How do they eat?
Great question. So my husband just doesn't, I'd say he's neutral, right? He did get very sick of the videos. Every time he comes in the room now, I just put my earbuds in, then he doesn't have to, he doesn't care what I'm doing, but it's just, he doesn't want to hear it, he knows because I've talked to him and I've told him all the things and he had all the objections, but he still has not changed his diet. So, he's a grown man. He can do what he wants. He's very standard American. I have two sons, my 15-year-old, my younger boy, 2.5 months, well, beginning of February, so almost 3 months ago now. I asked him because he's watched me, I asked him if he wanted to try going keto because he has ADHD and that type of a diet has been shown to help. Because let me tell you guys, we tried everything. I was the mom who never wanted to put their kids on medication because I know it can have some serious side effects. I am all for it. If people make that decision, you're welcome to make that decision, but I was not for it for my own family. But we tried it, Rose, because when your kid is failing high school, I don't know what else to do. Like they kind of got to pass their classes. But we tried a lot of things before that. We tried, IEP plans with the school, 504 plans with the school, counseling in and outside of school, occupational therapy in and outside of the school, speech therapy, for pragmatics so that he could like relate to other people and not create disturbances. And then those are all the like with like experts, right? And then all of the strategies like, timers and visual timers and written schedules and calming corners and I mean, on and on and on and on, and nothing, not one, not the medicine, not the, what you would consider probably the most extreme of those interventions down to like, you give that boy a timer, he's going to tell you 25 reasons why the timer doesn't work. And if you switch the timer, well, that doesn't work. Like nothing's going to work. He'll just argue you into the ground about why that's all dumb and none of it's going to work. And so getting just normal things like getting ready for school was either he would just be ready whenever he was ready and I'm like on the inside, or I don't keep the on the inside and it's World War III, because if I lose it a little bit, like get yourself to school, dude, then he's like back up in my face. Where when I was a kid, if my parents spoke sternly to me, I would kind of back down and comply. Nope, he's gonna match you and he's gonna one up you. Because I think he's ODD too, although he's not. I did not have that diagnosis. We didn't put that diagnosis, but
Can you
he's
explain what ODD is?
Oppositional defiance disorder. So I don't know if it is a real disorder. It just basically means whatever the adult says. I mean, who knows? It could just be they're just being a brat. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, it was they're a brat. But basically whatever adult, parent, teacher, whatever it is, if you ask them to comply with X, Y, or Z, they're not going to do X, Y, or Z. They have to think it's their idea. And if they don't think it's their idea, then they're not going to do it. And that's just how it is.
So I work with students that are 18 to 21. I'm a job
Okay.
coach for students that have developmental disabilities and whatnot, and autism and on and on. So I can
You can relate.
Yes.
So anyways, he went keto February. He basically eats like me. But he incorporates a lot more dairy than I do because he's very actually a little on the thin side. Like he's not metabolically unhealthy. He's a little on the thin side. Like and he likes his cheese and his whole milk. I'm not taking that away. And we just switched his yogurt to like whole Greek yogurt. But he eats a lot of meat. He used to never want to have meat. He also has, I don't know if any of your students that you work with have sensory integration processing disorder, but he has that. And a lot of it is with like textures. But he likes meat now, so he likes chuck roast. He does not like burger patties, you guys, but he likes chuck. I know. I'm like, how do you not like burger patty? But eggs, he likes eggs. He used to never eat eggs. He doesn't like bacon, but he likes eggs with sausage, chuck roast and picanha. And then he'll do like chicken thighs. I mean, none of the stuff he would ever do before. And then for lunch, we'll pack like some of they're like, it's Teton, grass-fed finished sausages, uncured sausages. So he'll take one of those, some cheese, some pepperoni. That's what he'll have for lunch at school. And I'm telling you, this is insane to me, because I think before he was borderline hoarder. Okay. I love him, but he was borderline hoarder. His room was like, and I stopped fighting the clean your room battle because I was not going to win. And one day bags started coming out of his room. Like, I didn't say a word to him. This was maybe a week and a half in. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, cleaning my room. Okay. 18, I think it was 18 kitchen size trash bags came out of that room. Then he took them all out to the trash can. Then I went in there. He goes, well, so he didn't touch the closet yet. That was like the room and under the bed and stuff. And then he had a few bags left. He goes, this is what I'm keeping, but it's organized in these bags by category right now, and I'll take care of them later. And then he found all of these like half broken pieces of technology because he didn't have a working computer. And he cobbled them together. He found an Amazon gift card in the rubble of his room, that he had gotten for some gift, like birthday gift or something. And he bought some cables, and then he cobbled together like a working computer from all of his pieces of broken technology. And then he goes, yeah, before this, I would have known all the work I had to do, but it would have just seemed really overwhelming. So I just would have gone on my phone and watched YouTube. But like, I felt motivated to do it. I was like, oh, okay.
Who is this young man?
Who is this person? Right. And then, later he did more. So he's now cleaned out the closet. He's taken those bags that were organized and put them away. So his room is now neat, and I didn't tell him to do it.
Wow. So it sounds like, your way of life is rubbing off on those in your family that completely need it.
Oh, and so he agreed to do it for 30 days. And I was like, okay, I got 30 days out of him. Right. And then it was like the end of that 30 days. I was like, so you think you want to keep going, And he was like, yeah, I'm doing well. So he's a teenager, right? He's got to play it cool. Yeah. But if anyone's interested, I did do a live stream with him. It is on my channel. I think after the first month or two, I forget, at one of the milestones though, we did a live stream together. You'll find it on my channel if you look, so you can kind of hear it out of his mouth, his experiences. But yeah, almost to 3 months. The last 3 days in a row, I said, do you want picanha for dinner or pizza, like carnivore pizza pockets? And he said picanha. I was like, beef over pizza? Who is this person? Oh, he's my son.
Yes.
So he's doing fabulous. I'm still working on my 18-year-old, and my husband, he knows he can do it if he wants. He hasn't chosen to do it yet. My mom is keto. So anytime family gatherings are, at least on my side of the family, are easy. Because she's going to cook some kind of big, something, a meat or whatever. And so there's always I don't have to have that. There's not that struggle there,
Right on.
So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you before we get ready to close out, are there any words of wisdom that you can offer any viewers that may be kind of like stuck on the ledge of trying to decide to go forward and change or just remain the same? And where do you see yourself 3 to 6 months from now, your future self?
Oh, great questions. Okay. So I would say if you are on the ledge, I mean, think of my son, right? He's 15. He had every reason to keep eating the standard American diet. He wasn't gaining weight, for what did he know about mental health or any of that, right? He just wants to eat Doritos with his friends, but he was like, I think he recognized enough, like, well, it's worth a shot, and it's only 30 days. Like mom said 30 days. And after 30 days, he could have gone back. And so, but just in that short amount of time, his brain changed so much that he was like, I'm going to keep going. And then month 2 went by, and he's like, I'm going to keep going, and same thing for me. Like when I accidentally went carnivore, because it was just like, I don't feel like making broccoli tonight, and so I'm just going to eat meat now. And then it was like all of a sudden all these benefits, because I didn't know. I was watching keto content. I didn't know what carnivore was. And then it was like, oh, like I feel better in this way. My sleep's improved, my, all this stuff that I mentioned earlier. And so, what have you got to lose? You can always go back. And, what damage are you going to do, to yourself that's undoable or something, in 30 days or 60 days time. Okay. And I would say too, if you can give it more like 60 days, 30 days is, like my brother tried carnivore in January, and he didn't stick to it after that. Now, granted, he's very active. He's not overweight and all of that, but, I don't know if he gave it a good enough go to really like feel any enough benefits from it because he was not, unhealthy. He is very, he's fit, he's muscular, he's, he does rock climbing and all of that. I wish he had tried it a little longer. So I would say really give it a good shot. And I would also say before you start, take the pictures, take measurements. Don't worry about the scale. And just know that you're going to go through some adaptation symptoms. And if and when you do, talk to someone like Rose or myself, because we can probably help you, navigate that. Because even going from keto to ketovore to carnivore, I still had 3 weeks of like quick runs to the bathroom. And I went kind of gradually-ish. I didn't just go carnivore one day just from standard American, right? But now, everything's great. And then I would say, keep going, even if you have challenges. So I will tell you that after going carnivore, the weight slowly started creeping on again. And I gained back probably the full 20 pounds between October and maybe about a month ago. And I couldn't figure it out. But let me tell you, my mental health benefits and the inflammation and all that stuff, like that was all still feeling great. It was just a little frustrating, the weight part of it. But it wasn't like, what else am I going to go do? Go eat some French fries? No, because I know how I'm going to end up feeling. That's not worth it. It's not, I gained weight. Now I'm going to go totally off the rails. I started, I've really, really realized that, because people say N equals 1, N equals 1. I've really realized it's an N equals 1. And I tried a bunch of stuff. Like I interviewed Coach Bronson. I followed his advice religiously for a good 6 weeks. No shade on Coach Bronson. He knows what he's doing, but it didn't help me lose any weight. Like I started weightlifting though, and I'm happy that I did that because I know I'm putting on muscle, but it didn't help me, lose weight. And then I just tried several things. People were suggesting things. I would watch things. You hear a lot of women don't eat enough. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? I don't know. You hear high fat, you hear high protein, you hear all of these things, and you really, really have to give it a good try. And so what I'll tell you is that about a month ago, I was watching Kelly Hogan. I love Kelly Hogan. I don't watch her all the time, but I really enjoy her content. And she had this video about how she lost the last 20 pounds. And so it kind of got my attention. And she said, at one point in that video, she said, I'm a volume eater. And I was like, girl, me too. I'm a volume eater too. I don't want to eat one burger patty and call it a meal. Now, if some people want to do that, like I said, N equals 1, or some people have had, bariatric surgery, like my friend Adrian, and they can't. I understand that. Or if you eat that and you feel full, great. But I'm telling you right now, that's not me. So when Kelly Hogan said not to me, like she's talking to me, when she said to her hundreds of thousands of viewers, I'm a volume eater, and if I'm going to eat, I want to eat a big plate of stuff. I'm like, that's me. And so she was talking about, it's not that she's like low fat, didn't go low fat by any means, but she was talking about eating a little bit leaner things. Like she would rather eat a giant plate of chicken thighs because she could eat a whole plate of chicken thighs, and I'm like, okay, I like chicken thighs. And then but for me, you've heard me say it a couple times already. It's kind of become a joke on my channel. I love picanha. Picanha is my jam. And I like it as much as ribeyes. Like ribeyes are excellent, but they're, you're going to get a lot higher fat content. Some people need that. Some people are good with that. But I was eating a lot of ribeyes, and, the weight was going on. I didn't feel like I was overeating. I didn't feel like I was overstuffing myself. I was just eating to what I thought was satiety. But the weight was just kind of slowly, like I said, it took about 5-6 months, but just kind of creeping on. And so I decided, all right, Kelly Hogan, I hear you. I got it. So for right now, I cut out the ribeyes and I just went picanha, which is its other name is a sirloin cap. And so most of it is sirloin, but it does have this fat cap on it that is just delicious. So I don't feel deprived at all. And let me tell you, in the last 3.5-ish weeks since then, 8 pounds just like fell off. So it's like, I figured it out is what I'm saying, Rose. It's like, I'm not going to go eat French fries. I'm not going to go back standard American. That did not work for me. I'm not going to go back to counting calories. But like, what did I eat today? I've eaten a pound of picanha, like a whole pound, and sometimes I'll even tack some eggs onto that. So I'm eating a lot more eggs, a lot more picanha. And then I did get some, I do buy just grocery store meat, but I do, if I eat chicken or pork, I try to get pasture raised. So I did order some pasture raised chicken, and I made some chicken thighs the other day. So I'm just trying to incorporate more of that. And it seems like that was the ticket. That's what I need to do for my N=1. So you
So
just
you
have to
mixed,
figure it out.
so you mixed it up and tried
Mm-hmm.
something new,
Mm-hmm.
and
Several new
as a
things until
result,
yes.
8 pounds. And I
Mm-hmm.
was also going to offer that maybe the 138, 140 range that you really didn't want to be at is what your body
Yes.
naturally wants to stay at. And that's why
Yep.
it keeps going back there.
Yeah, it could
Um,
very well be. And part of me thinks that, like, is this just vanity that you want to be 120? Because, like I said,
mhm,
at the 140-ish range, that's not overweight. I mean, it's kind of getting to the border of it, but it's not overweight.
yeah,
So maybe that's what my body want. You could very well be right, but it is hard to know. And when you do see the scale, just only
mhm.
doing this, it's not, I'm not talking this, I'm talking, it gets a little, it starts to get to you a little bit, but
It's a little stressful. I hear
mm-hmm,
you.
mm-hmm.
Okay, where do you see yourself 3 months from now? And then we're going to go ahead and close out, girl. Where do you see
Awesome.
yourself 3 months, maybe even
So
6 months if you look that far ahead?
yeah, absolutely. So I see myself just continuing this way of eating. I continue to add, so like the most recent thing I've added was walking. So like I said, I'm going to go for a walk later. I don't know what the next, oh, I do know what the next new thing is. I had my husband put in well, actually he offered, I didn't even ask him, to put in a little patch of grass in our backyard, because if anyone lives in California, you know that water is expensive here. And they started like, I mean, it is expensive. So we had taken all the grass out, like, and our whole yard is either just like lava rock or like mulch, like bark. And I want to do some grounding, and it's not comfortable to stand on that stuff. And so he had heard about grounding independently of me, and he heard me talking about it, and he was like, what if I put in a little patch of grass back there, and then you can go do that? And I was like, so it's out there, but I can't stand on it yet because it's not rooted. It's like sod, right?
Mm.
So, but he rolled it out yesterday.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
so I plan to incorporate some grounding, because I've noticed, I've tried it. Oh my gosh, do I just feel all of a sudden it's just like kind of calm and centered. Like I don't meditate, but like you kind of feel that way, like calm and centered, and all is right with the world. It doesn't take long, and you can just kind of stand there, and it just, I don't know, it just mentally makes you feel. So I want to go out there with my weights, and kind of do my barefoot like squats and things like that out there. I'm very
Okay.
excited. So that I'm all in 3 months from now, that, well, in 3 weeks from now, that grass will be nice and rooted, and I'll be able to go out there in the morning and kind of see the sunrise and do some grounding. So I would like to incorporate that. I feel like when you go carnivore, then, and you get that in check, or you get that routine down, you start looking for like other ways,
Mhm.
you can be healthy. So that's one of the ways
Oh,
for
I
me.
like it. I'm not
Yeah.
earthy like that. I'm a
Mm.
gym rat. I like outdoors, but for specific things. So maybe, I mean, we have grass here. Maybe I'll try that. I don't know, Cristie. But can you tell our friends where to find you, and maybe a 30-second overview of what you have on your channel, please?
Absolutely. So the main place you can find me is my channel on YouTube, which is at Meeting Wellness, but MEAT, obviously, like it says right there down there below my face, Meeting Wellness. And so my favorite thing there is Lioness Lifestyle Lives. That is a female focused live stream. And there's 3 hosts and 1 guest every single Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. And we just get that guest's like health journey, health story. I do interviews kind of like this as well with people. And then for some reason, Miss Rose, people like to watch me cook. I don't know why. So I just, if I'm cooking something, so there's a lot of like recipe ideas and things like that on my channel. I love comments. I mean, my channel's still fairly small. I just have a couple thousand subscribers right now. So when people comment to me, I comment back to everybody. And if you have a question, or if you just want to, get into community, my channel is a great place to do that. We have a good core of people, and I go live a lot. Like I'll be live again tomorrow. So I'm live at least twice a week. So pop in the chat. That's a great place to like talk to people, meet people. People kind of hang out there. So that's great. I'm also on Instagram, but like not that much, but like people can message me there. Same handle at Meeting Wellness, and same thing on Facebook at Meeting Wellness. So you can find me in all three of those places.
Oh, thank you so much for
Yeah.
being here today and sharing about your journey as well as some of the challenges you've had and about your
Yeah.
social media. So, guys, this is Coach Rose AJ, Carnivore Girl for Life, signing out. But I do need you to go over and meet Cristie at Meeting Wellness. Give her a like, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do. And don't forget, if you like what you've seen here today, please like and subscribe to my channel as well. Thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.